Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy T for 365 Horror, and this is a horror movie discovery channel. I am just here to put as many horror movies on your watch list as possible, and we're going to be looking at some brand new horror streaming releases for the week of October 20th. Plus, getting into my trailer reactions. So let's get into it right now. Now, we are going to get into the video, but before we do, I've got to remind you guys to please like and subscribe if you like this content. Also, as a reminder, there will always be chapters and timestamps in the description, so if you want to jump around to the movies or don't like any of my trailer reactions, you're always free to skip to the next one. I've also taken the liberty of front-loading this video with all of the free movies or the service movies, so just know that once we get to Amazon Prime or Google Play, just know that it is all pretty much pay for rent from there. And lastly, for my fellow Canadians, I know that a lot of these movies are region locked, so I have included in the intro of the movie, you will see a small Canadian flag, and that means that I was able to just find the movie raw as is, and you should be able to watch those ones. So the first thing I want to talk about today is kind of the designation of some of these movies, because I feel like some people sometimes are getting their hopes up a little too much when they see a movie or hear about a movie. So the designation that I'm talking about is with the genres when I say it's like a horror, mystery, thriller. And a lot of times exactly where those genres land actually matters in the title of the movie. And it may make a difference in how you kind of perceive the movie or what your expectations of the movie are. So for an example, a movie like Him, you know, it's sports then horror, so you kind of know that the horror is going to come a little bit secondary. I say that only because sometimes people say that movies aren't scary when it has like horror third, and I'm not sure if you understand that if it's like drama, romance, horror, then horror really is going to be like a distant third, whereas if horror is kind of first or second, then it's more designed to scare you. And with that, I also want to add, don't forget, people watch horror for a ton of different reasons. Everybody has their kind of own motivations and triggers. I always want to say that because in one of the comments, somebody left a comment saying these are horror movies for roller coaster fans, and I assume that they're talking about kind of the jump scares or anything like that. And I want you to know that I think that jump scares are horror. Like, I'm sorry, if you don't like them, that's fine, but it is horror. And as always, I like to bring up an actual definition of horror, which is an intense feeling of fear, shock, or disgust. So I'm sorry, fear is in there. Jump scares is part of horror, just like gore. Some people think, oh, well, it's gore, that's not real. Yes, it is. It might not be the horror that you like, but it is, in fact, horror, right? And so I'm the type of guy who I kind of like everything. Like, I like everything, but love only a very little. Like, I just like slashers. I like gore movies. I like drama. Like, I just love horror as a genre in its entirety, like, except for comedy. But even then, like I've shown you with Toxic Avenger, I do like comedies from time to time. So just remember that when you're kind of sometimes, and I don't even care if you comment that, like, because what you say to me, like, it means something and it hurts me. But at the same time, I understand that this is the internet and people are anonymous. So, I mean, let me be the shield, but just remember that when you're kind of, you know, excluding certain aspects of horror because you don't like them, I just don't think that that's accurate or fair. But enough of the discussions. We have got a ton of movies to get into this week, so I'm just going to get right into the movies I watched. And the first movie I watched was Strange Harvest, and this was a good found footage. I really enjoyed it. I think anybody who kind of likes found footage films, I mean, it's more of like a documentary style, but it's got like found footage kind of stuff in it with the interviews and everything. And this was a well-acted movie. It was like really good. But the caveat that I'm going to give is that this is one that's definitely for fans of true crime. So if you like those true crime stories or shows like The First 48, where they kind of go through the case, this is exactly what this movie is, except for the raw edge that they put on it is, you know, when they'll say in a true, like in a First 48, we found him in a swamp and he was half decomposed. Well, they'll show that in Strange Harvest. Like, they'll show the decomposing body, they show the crime scene photos, and it really just gives the movie like a little raw edge, you know what I mean? Where it's like you're watching this actually good true crime kind of story play out, but they're showing you like all the raw cut scene footage. So you know how they'll sometimes be like, oh, we got him on surveillance, and you see him take the life, and then as he pulls out the gun, they'll do like a freeze frame, but they won't actually show like the murder. Well, this, of course, being a movie, does show the murder. So if you do like that kind of true crime, a little bit of a slower burn, because you've got to think about it. It literally is a true crime with the juicy parts left in. But if you like that, then this is a good movie that's definitely worth watching. And even while I was watching it, there were a couple times that I had to remind myself that this is not a real true crime case and it's just a movie, because even the detectives and everything, everybody had like pretty good acting in the movie, even though some of it was definitely for the movies, but it is a movie, so you're gonna expect that. But it just was really good, man. As a true crime lover, this is one that I definitely think you should check out. And the next movie I watched this week, I watched it with my girl, and that was the sports horror Him. And this is exactly why I kind of made that beginning ramble, because this is a sports horror. And to be completely honest, man, I really liked Him. Now, I don't know, I guess I'll give the caveat that you're not getting a slapsticky horror kind of horror in this. It's more of a psychological horror where you're seeing the devolution of this player. And I do think maybe you have to kind of be a football fan to get more out of this movie, or at least a sports fan, because as being somebody who played football in high school and has tried to make it, and, you know, very stereotypically, I played football and basketball in high school, but there was an air of like, if you want to be the greatest, you have to sacrifice. You know, I watched a lot of sports documentaries growing up and to this day, and just the training regiments and how guys get into their headspaces, and just, you know, what people are willing to do to try to be the best or the GOAT. It really is encapsulated in this movie, and you feel it. You feel the desperation of the players trying to, like, you just feel a good sense of that, and it's very brutal, and just watching what this kind of guy goes through, it's pretty terrifying. So again, I think you're gonna have to kind of like a sports slant, or at least a sports story, to enjoy this one, because again, you're not getting like a traditional scare frame. This is not Conjuring, this is not Bring Her Back, but it is a good movie nonetheless. And the last movie I watched this week, just because I wanted something a little bit lighter, and that was The Ick. And I liked this movie. I thought it was pretty good. It had some pretty good kind of raunchy humor in it. It does go a little bit long, and by halfway through the movie, I'm kind of like, okay, we can wrap this up. But it did have some pretty good humor in it, a really good gore. This was a good gory movie. Some of it was a little bit too CGI. A lot of the ick stuff, when they showed a lot of the ick, it was just very CGI. The ending was a little cliche, and I don't know, it had a couple of eye rolls in it, but overall it was an enjoyable movie, a good kind of circle of friends thing, a funny story. And yeah, if you like that kind of comedy horror vibe, you know, a little bit more zany, kind of an early 2000s feel, then I do think The Ick is an enjoyable movie for you to watch. All right, but let's get into some new stuff. The first movie we're going to take a look at this week is a horror thriller named The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. And this movie is available on Hulu and Disney+. An upscale suburban mom brings a new nanny, Polly Murphy, into her home, only to discover that she's not the person she claims to be. It is directed by Michelle Garza Cervera. Okay, so after watching the trailer for The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, this one looks like a solid kind of thriller horror with a dark psychological edge. Now, to be completely honest, I really loved the original back in the day, and I like that this new one is tapping into this really kind of demented angle with this new kind of twisted nanny. And the way we see this nanny almost connect and corrupt the daughter, it's just disturbing and maddening to watch in the best way. Now, this one feels like more of a slow burn rather than like a full-fledged horror flick. So expect some twisted mind games, some sharp tension, and some pretty good unsettling moments. But probably not really a ton of like gore or big scares. Overall, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle looks intriguing in that kind of classic stalker thriller-ish kind of way. And since it's hitting a streaming service like Hulu, I think this one's going to get a regular spot on my watch list. Next movie we're going to take a look at is a horror thriller named The Elixer, and this movie is available on Netflix. A dysfunctional family is running a renowned herbal medicine business when the owner of the company attempts to innovate by creating a new potion, which ends up triggering a zombie outbreak. It is directed by Kimo Stamboel. Okay, so after watching the trailer for The Elixir, this one looks like a decent, maybe even good zombie flick. And while yeah, it is pretty run-of-the-mill on the surface, I always like that good old kind of snake oil angle. And sometimes it's just cool to have like a face on the outbreak or an actual like reason. And in this case, you know, a potion that we dreamt up that now is like causing this weird zombie outbreak. The trailer for this one also shows plenty of blood, guts, and chaos. So you can tell right away that this one's going to be gory, fast-paced, and packed with action. And just as a quick note, even though the trailer playing on the screen does have a bunch of subtitles, I did go to Netflix and check this one out, and it does in fact have an English audio track. And the only reason why I said this movie might be good is because it pretty much is par for the course as far as zombie flicks go. So if you're not really into zombie flicks, it might not be good for you, but if you are, because it just looks so good and bloody, this one might be right up your alley. The Elixir looks bloody, intense, and messy in all the right ways. So I think this one's going to get a regular spot on my watch list.
Ini jamu baru. Jamu awet muda.
Bapak jadi halu kan semenjak nikah sama lo? Kok jadi bau-bau gue? Cuma mau ngamarin warisan Bapak kan? Pak! Pak! Mas? Bapak!
The next movie we're going to take a look at is a straight horror named What Happened to Dorothy Bell. And this movie is available on Apple TV and Google Play. Ozzie Gray video documents her investigation into the traumatic events from her early childhood, which involved her late grandmother, Dorothy Bell. It is directed by Danny Villanueva Jr. Okay, so after watching the trailer for What Happened to Dorothy Bell, this one looks like a creepy documentary style, almost found footage horror. And right away, I felt some pretty good legit scares, especially if kind of jump scares is your thing. And in this film, it looks like we've got another kind of creepy old lady that's probably gonna steal the show. Like in the scenes where she's kind of sitting back and just has her head down wearing that mask or making the threats, it's just pure nightmare fuel. Mix that with the whole kind of mystery of exactly what happened to this lady being slowly uncovered, and we might have something kind of intriguing to watch on our hands here. Overall, What Happened to Dorothy Bell looks like the perfect kind of late night flick. It's eerie, unsettling, and just looks like a pretty dark watch. So I think this one's going to get a regular spot on my watch list.
My grandma, she said she used to hear a voice wanting to be heard.
How'd you, Grandma?
She claimed that they told her to do things, bad things.
Is he talking to you now? What is he saying?
He wants me to kill you.
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a straight horror named The Bitter Taste. And this movie is available on Google Play and Prime Video. A former pentathlete is captured by an undead countess and her cursed followers. To survive a deadly hunt, she must revive her athletic skills and form an uneasy alliance with a charming fisherman and a grumpy cop. It is directed by Guido Tolki. Okay, so after watching the trailer for The Bitter Taste, this one looks like a little bit of a subpar undead vampire horror. Now, I will give the film this. There is a little bit of creeps kind of held in the way that some of the undead creatures ran. It just was unsettling and it was just really fast. And you know me, I personally think that kind of jerky movement for creeps always works. But outside of that, I honestly think that the film just looks kind of hokey and cheesy overall. It's like the tone of the film was just all over the place, and I never really got that kind of chilling, brutal edge that I was hoping for. And I figured that maybe the competition angle of the whole movie will add some spark, but I just didn't really feel any of it from the trailer. The Bitter Taste just came off a little bit weak, so I think this one's going to get a lower priority on my watch list.
Are you okay? Can you get up?
The competition's still on. She's coming. Try!
The next movie we're going to take a look at is a horror thriller named The Salem Chronicles. And this movie is available on Prime Video. A detective returns to Salem to handle his mother's estate, uncovering dark family secrets. Ancient witchcraft awakens, threatening him and his pregnant wife in New England's most haunted town. It is directed by Thomas J. Churchill. Okay, so after watching the trailer for The Salem Chronicles, this one looks like a pretty middle-of-the-road witch horror. Now, on the plus side, the trailer did have a couple of light creeps, nothing really big or scary, but at least they're trying. Otherwise, it really is just kind of your classic setup where the parent dies, the kid returns to handle the estate, dark secrets start bubbling up, and chaos kind of ensues. And while the film doesn't exactly look bad, it just feels a little bit too familiar. Now, The Salem Chronicles wasn't bad, it was just kind of hitting the middle lane for me, just nothing really stuck out or gripped me. So I think this one's getting a regular to lower priority on my watch list.
Yeah, this is Detective Paris.
This is Mr. Nelson calling regarding your late mother's estate.
What could she have left that I would want? I have to be in Salem on Monday. I was thinking maybe we go together?
What a lovely little street. She really had a deep interest in witches, huh?
Welcome to Salem.
This is the land where they used to hang all the witches.
Where it is? Right over there.
How many admitted to being a witch?
One.
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a horror thriller named Glamping, and this movie is available on Tubi.
I'm really scared right now. Please send help.
What begins as an influencer's dream cabin getaway with her friends soon unravels into a nightmare when a mass killer crashes the trip. It is directed by Nikki Koss. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Glamping, this one looks like a meh to decent circle of friends slasher. And honestly, I feel like what Halloween is complete without at least one of those? But what we do have is we have an influence and her crew headed out to a dream cabin. Of course, cue the mass killer and cue the chaos. And honestly, it doesn't feel like anything groundbreaking, so I wouldn't go in expecting deep character narratives or any kind of real social commentary. But I've got to admit, I really do have a soft spot for some of those kind of like 20-something circle of friend hangout vibes, as I was 20-something at one point. I just for some reason still really enjoy the kind of immature jokes, the raunchy banter, and the kind of we're all doomed but we're still laughing kind of vibe. And at least in the trailer, we do see a good bit of blood and some solid kills. And of course, it's on Tubi, so it's free, and that's a plus. Now, Glamping looks like a pretty run-of-the-mill slasher, but it does look like it could be a bloody fun time. So I think this one's going to get a regular spot on my watch list.
Who's ready to go glamping? Stop the car.
Well, that's not creepy at all.
I don't feel good about this.
Everyone chill. Just do some box breathing.
You know about box breathing?
I've been to therapy just like everyone else.
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a horror mystery named Last Stop Rocafort Street. And this movie is available on Apple TV and Prime Video. A mystery that has shaken the Rocafort metro station in Barcelona for years enters fully into Laura's life when she starts working at this old quiet stop and discovers that many people have died there under strange circumstances. It is directed by Louis Prieto. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Last Stop Rocafort Street, this one looks like a little bit of a meh to decent mystery horror. Now, I do like the fact that it kind of leans a little bit heavier into the creeps and scares because that's what I'm into. And having lived in Toronto, I can attest that subway stations at night are just eerie and creepy and too quiet for their own good. And the film almost has this Smile-esque vibe with the character seeing these like creepy kind of hallucinations. It just did a good job of adding to the overall unsettling feel. But I wasn't really feeling totally hooked by the mystery, but it was there. So hopefully the film does dig into that a little bit more. And one last quick note that this film does look subtitled, so if that's not for you, that's something to keep in mind. Now, Last Stop Rocafort Street looks like it has some pretty good creeps and scares hiding in that just dark subway station. So I think this one's going to get a regular spot on my watch list.
Perdone. ¿Está bien?
No mires lo que más quieras. No creas en lo que ves.
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a drama horror thriller named Tenement. And this movie is available on Google Play and Prime Video.
Please come. There's a lot more to show you.
Soraya goes back to Cambodia in a quest to find herself after her mother's death. There she finds family that she's never known in an old building full of dark secrets. It is directed by Sakyu Chia and Inrasathiep Neth. Okay, so after watching the trailer for The Tenement, this one looks like a meh to decent drama-style horror. Now, going home after a parent's death and uncovering dark secrets is something we've definitely seen before, even today in this video, but at least this movie does look like it's going to try to pack along some creeps and scares for the ride. And I did spot a couple of flashes of gore, but it just was nothing really too brutal. I think the real hook for this film is going to come from the family revelations, especially in this like big building full of people. I just think that if they could pull off some really good kind of dark side stories, it could be something good to watch. Quick note, this is another movie that's subtitled, so if that's not your thing, you might want to keep a heads up. Now, Tenement looks okay. It looks like it has a couple of chills and a decent mystery, so I think this one's going to land somewhere between regular and a little bit lower on my watch list.
Welcome to your new home.
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a straight horror named The Grieving, and this movie is available on Prime Video.
Trust me.
A mourning daughter attempts to understand her late father's hauntings, as there's something really wrong with his urn and darker motives at play. It is directed by Alessandro Antonassi, Danielle Lescar, and Stefano Mandala. Okay, so after watching the trailer for The Grieving, this one looks like a meh to decent supernatural horror. So yes, unfortunately, we're getting that familiar setup again. Late family kind of passes away, daughter shows up, looks through the belongings, but at least this one kind of throws a little bit of a twist in the angle with a little bit of that cursed item horror. Because it's almost like when she opens that urn, things just start to get real. And I think there's like a malevolent spirit that could add a little bit more of an edge to the story. Now, there's some solidly creepy kind of haunted house moments here, but what really was a drawback for me was just the entity itself. I mean, it had a little bit of a creepy look, but it just looked so CGI. I just think it took a real bite out of kind of the effectiveness of the villain. But honestly, I'm kind of starting to think that unfortunately, that might just be horror nowadays. So we might actually be forced to sit through just these like digital looking ghosts until the technology catches up and it looks a little bit better for the lower budget that some of these horror movies tend to be. So The Grieving looks like a decent little creeper, not great, but not terrible. So I think that it's going to get a regular to a little bit of a lower spot on my watch list.
I'll be back as soon as I get the approval to bury my father's ashes. It shouldn't take more than a few days.
What was that?
I can feel him, Michael. I think my dad is here. I think he's trying to tell me something. No, I know the difference between a nightmare and seeing him in person. I'm not crazy!
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a straight horror named The Haunting of Cottonwood. And this movie is available on Prime Video. David and Georgina's luck is about to change when good news arrives that David has inherited Cottonwood, an old Victorian house once used as an orphanage. What the family doesn't realize is they've also inherited its evil past. It is directed by Michael McLaren. Okay, so after watching the trailer for The Haunting of Cottonwood, this one looks like a little bit of a subpar haunted house horror. Okay, so I will give it this. The film does manage that kind of eerie haunted house vibe, and it did manage some light creeps, which I do have hopes for because the setting is awesome. An old orphanage means creepy kids for sure. But honestly, just after watching exactly how the scares were executed, I'm just afraid that they're not going to really land that well. And the film does have that kind of unmistakable B-movie sheen, which in some cases can kind of add some charm. But in this movie, it just kind of took away from the scares, the way they were cut. It just took away from the effectiveness of them. And a lot of the acting, it just felt wooden. And there might even be a touch of mystery around who or what is really haunting this house, whether it be kids or whatever. It's just the way it played out in the trailer, it didn't hook me enough to care. Now, The Haunting of Cottonwood might deliver a scare or a creep or two, but I just don't know if it's enough to save it. So this one's getting a lower priority on my watch list.
This is it. The old Cottonwood house. What do you think?
It's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
And I think that this move to Florida is gonna be amazing for you and the girls.
It's beautiful.
Yeah?
And everything you said it was gonna be.
Next movie we're going to take a look at is a straight horror named The Cellar. And this movie is available on Prime Video.
Amen.
A young girl wakes up imprisoned underground with amnesia. She must escape and unravel the mystery behind her captivity and confront her personal struggles. This is a suspenseful tale of survival, truth, and the inner turmoil that unfolds. It is directed by Jamie Langlands. Okay, after watching the trailer for The Cellar, this one looks like a subpar, almost occult-style horror. Honestly, this was just another movie this week that didn't have too much of a hook and nothing in it really grabbed me. Now, I didn't really mind the premise here, but it's nothing groundbreaking. But these weird kind of captive stories can really surprise you if they go dark enough. Unfortunately, I just didn't see much of that edge or cruelty in this one. Add to that just the B-movie vibe and these characters who are supposed to be possessed that didn't just look all that convincing, and it is a little bit rough. Now, The Cellar may have something raw or shocking kind of tucked away, but we just didn't see it in the trailer. So for now, the film is standing on just a little bit of shaky ground. And it just didn't impress me as much as I would like, so I think this one's going to get a lower priority on my watch list.
O God, the eternal Father, we ask thee in the name of thy Son, the Lord Jesus Christ, to bless and sanctify this bread to the souls of all those who partake of it, that they may eat in remembrance of the body of thy Son, Jesus Christ.
All right, guys, last movie we're going to take a look at this week is a straight horror named Modern Folklore. And this movie is available on Google Play, Apple TV, and Prime Video. Modern Folklore is a horror anthology that touches on aspects of Native American folklore and modern-day terrors, which will leave you questioning what is reality versus myth. It is directed by Miles Porter. Okay, so after watching the trailer for Modern Folklore, this one looks like a subpar to meh anthology horror. Now, honestly, I really do love anthologies because I just love the quick-hitting story style. You know, you have no character development, no real setup, just right into the chaos and action. And if that story and that premise doesn't really grab you, then no worries because there's another story following not far behind it. And at least they give us some good solid gore in the trailer. Like there's even a part where there's like a decapitating head floating in the river. So you know it's going to be raw, and that's always a plus in my book. But the only downside of this one is that, again, a lot of the stories, they just have that little B-movie feel. And although that isn't inherently bad, something about the production just feels a little bit off. But I did like the one segment that had the most gore because that was almost that good kind of circle of friends story. And that one just kind of felt fun and familiar. So yeah, Modern Folklore looks like it might have a creepy story or two and deliver some pretty good gore, but the production still feels a little bit off. So I think this one's going to get a regular to lower spot on my watch list.
I need a drink.
Yeah, I could use one.
How was that? Who's there?
Well, guys, that's it for me for another episode of brand new releases for you guys to watch and stream. I hope you enjoyed this content, and if you did find a couple of gems for your watch list, please leave me a like and subscribe. Now, if I had to make a couple of picks this week for how many movies there were, it's kind of a little bit slim pickings, unfortunately, and hopefully with next week being actual Halloween, hopefully we get a lot more kind of a better selection. But I think the first movie I'm going to pick this week is the What Happened to Dorothy Bell film. It just looks like a pretty good kind of found footage. I thought the old lady looked creepy. I liked some of the character interactions. It actually looked like a decent mystery with some creeps in it. The old lady, again, just very creepy. So again, in a week of slim pickings, I think that's going to be my first pick of the week. And the second movie I'm going to pick this week in a week of a little bit of slim pickings is the Hulu film The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. I just love the original, and I just love these kind of stalker, Basic Instinct, you know, affairs that gone wrong kind of stories, especially with the nanny or something kind of sordid or whatever. I don't know. I just like those kind of tales. And in this one, the girl looks pretty unhinged. Like I said, she has a weird kind of inappropriate relationship with the daughter in this one and almost kind of corrupts her and turns her to her side. So it's going to be an interesting kind of film. It looks like it's got some pretty dark psychological moments. So that's going to be my second pick of the week. Well, guys, that's it for me for real this time, as I have got a ton of movies to watch. If you made it this far into the video, thank you. I appreciate you. I hope you guys have been taking care of yourselves, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
We gotta see this shit.